The alien ship descended into Earth's atmosphere with a silent grace, undetectable by any of the planet's technology. For millennia, the hunters of the Ratharian race had journeyed to distant worlds to test their skills against the most dangerous creatures each planet had to offer. Earth was no exception. Known in their records as a world teeming with aggressive wildlife, the Ratharians believed it would offer excellent sport. This time, however, they had come for something special. A legend whispered about among their elite, a creature so elusive and ferocious that few had ever encountered it and lived to tell the tale. They called it the Silver Beast. On Earth, it had many names, but one stood above the rest: Werewolf. The Ratharians were skilled in the art of the hunt, standing over 8 feet tall, with muscular frames covered in pale blue skin and eyes that glowed like embers. They were genetically enhanced for strength and speed. Their armor, sleek and black, shimmered with cloaking technology, making them nearly invisible in the dark. Armed with plasma rifles, energy nets, and thermal vision, they had never faced a creature they couldn't bring down. For them, the hunt was a thrill, one that offered glory and status within their society. They prided themselves on being the universe's top predators. The first night, the Ratharian leader, Vorax, stood at the edge of the dense forest, scanning the landscape with his advanced vision. The coordinates led them here, deep within the wilderness of the Carpathian Mountains, a perfect hunting ground. The humans, oblivious to the dangers around them, had built small villages nearby, but it was the wilderness that Vorax found intriguing. The Silver Beast was said to lurk in forests like these. His hunting party of 5 had fanned out, their movements silent and precise. Each Ratharian was equipped with tracking devices tuned to pick up the subtle energy signature they believed the werewolf would emit. To them, it was just another game, another beast to conquer. But as night fell, and the moon rose high into the sky, something began to change. Vorax's scanners picked up faint movements in the trees, a rustle of leaves here, a shadow darting between the trunks. It was fast, far faster than any animal they had encountered on Earth so far. His lips curled into a satisfied smirk. "Activate cloaking. We don't want to spook it," Vorax ordered through their internal comms. "It's close." The hunters activated their cloaking devices, blending into the night. Their energy nets were armed, plasma rifles charged. They would take the werewolf alive, a trophy to prove their superiority. But the moment they set foot deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifted. The forest grew unnaturally quiet, as though every living creature was suddenly afraid. The wind carried with it a faint, menacing howl that echoed through the trees, chilling even the Ratharians with their bravado. "What was that?" one of the hunters, Crawl, asked, his voice low and uneasy. "The beast knows we're here," Vorax replied confidently. "This is the thrill of the hunt." A scream erupted from the darkness. Vorax's eyes snapped to the side, where one of his hunters had disappeared. The only sign of him was the rapid blip of his life signal on the tracker, which faded moments later into static. "Formation," Vorax barked. The Ratharians regrouped, weapons drawn, as the trees seemed to close in around them. This was no ordinary prey. They had underestimated the werewolf. Vorax activated his thermal vision, scanning the area for any sign of movement. His heart pounded in his chest, not from fear, but from the rush of adrenaline. This was what he lived for, facing a predator worthy of the chase. The forest was still, too still. Then, out of nowhere, a massive shape leapt from the shadows. It was a blur of silver fur and claws, crashing into one of the hunters with such force that he was thrown back into the trees, his cloaking device flickering before going dark. Vorax fired his plasma rifle, but the beast moved too fast. It darted between the trees, using the thick canopy to its advantage. Crawl yelled in pain as the creature's claws raked across his armor, shredding it like paper. He staggered back, blood oozing from the wounds as the werewolf disappeared again into the night. "Regroup," Vorax ordered, but the hunters were scattered, disoriented by the speed and ferocity of the attack. This wasn't a mindless beast, this was something far worse. The hunt becomes a nightmare. Hours passed, and the hunters, once so confident, were now the hunted. The werewolf stalked them, picking them off one by one with ruthless efficiency. It moved like a ghost through the forest, its glowing eyes the only warning before it struck. Crawl was the next to fall. He had been tracking the werewolf's movements when it pounced from above, sinking its fangs into his neck before disappearing into the shadows once again. The Ratharians had no time to react. They were being toyed with, and they knew it. "Fall back," Vorax growled. his arrogance fading as the reality of their situation set in. This was no ordinary hunt. The werewolf wasn't just a creature, it was a force of nature, and it was smarter than they had anticipated. But as they tried to retreat, the beast blocked their path. It emerged from the darkness, its massive form towering over them, its silver fur gleaming in the moonlight. Its eyes burned with an intelligence that sent a shiver down Vorax's spine. It wasn't afraid of them, it had been waiting. The werewolf lunged, and this time Vorax was ready. He fired his plasma rifle, the energy blast hitting the beast square in the chest. It howled in pain but didn't go down. Instead, it charged forward, slamming into Vorax with a strength that nearly knocked him off his feet. The leader struggled to regain his footing, swinging his blade at the creature, but the werewolf was too fast. It swiped at him with claws that cut through his armor. Drawing blood, Vorax stumbled back, his vision blurring as the beast stood over him, its breath hot against his face. This wasn't supposed to happen. They were the hunters, the apex predators. How could this be? As Vorax lay on the forest floor, his blood soaking into the earth, the werewolf growled low in its throat, a sound that sent fear coursing through him for the first time in his life. It bared its fangs, ready to deliver the final blow. But it didn't. Instead, it stepped back, its glowing eyes watching him for a moment before turning and vanishing into the trees. It had spared him, not out of mercy, but as a warning. The Ratharians had come to hunt, but they had been outmatched by a creature far more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. Aftermath. When the rescue team from the Ratharian ship arrived, they found only Vorax alive, barely clinging to consciousness. The rest of the hunting party had been torn apart, their bodies scattered across the forest like broken toys. As he was lifted onto the ship, Vorax's mind raced. The hunt had failed. They had come for sport, confident in their superiority, but they had been humbled. The silver beast, the werewolf, was not just a legend, it was a living nightmare. The Ratharian Empire would have to rethink their approach. They had encountered a predator that could outsmart and outfight even the galaxy's greatest hunters. And as Vorax's ship lifted off, leaving Earth's atmosphere, he knew one thing for certain: they would never return to this planet. Because on Earth, even the hunters can become the hunted. Epilogue: The werewolf's territory. Far below, as the alien ship vanished into the night sky, the werewolf watched silently from the edge of the forest. It had sensed the presence of these invaders long before they had landed. The air had carried their scent, a scent not of prey, but of arrogance. These aliens had believed themselves to be superior, and they had paid the price for their hubris. The creature's silver fur shimmered under the full moon as it stalked through the underbrush, following the trails left by the fallen hunters. It paused near the remains of one, examining the strange technology scattered around him. A part of the werewolf's mind, the part that remembered being human, was curious about these invaders from the stars, but the animal instincts inside it were far more dominant. This was its territory. It had lived here for centuries, undisturbed by mankind's expansion and unaware of the cosmic civilizations that flourished beyond Earth. The Ratharians had been the first to enter its domain, and they would be the last. The forest was quiet again, the night peaceful, but deep inside, the werewolf could feel something stir, a pull that it had ignored for many years. It wasn't just an animal, it had been human once, and though it could no longer remember its human name or life, it could still remember fragments of what it once was: a protector, a guardian of this land. The werewolf threw back its head and let out a long, mournful howl. The sound echoed through the mountains, a warning to all who might listen. Earth had its own defenders, and some were far more terrifying than any creature in the stars. Back on Rathar Prime, back on the Ratharian homeworld, news of Vorax's failed hunt spread quickly. It was a disgrace for an elite squad of Ratharian hunters to be defeated, and by a single creature no less. The Empire's leadership, once brimming with confidence about their supremacy, was now deeply concerned. The werewolf had not just defeated the hunters, it had shattered their pride. The generals gathered in secret meetings to discuss their next steps. The legends of the Silver Beast had been dismissed as stories told to scare new recruits, but now they were forced to confront the reality that perhaps this beast wasn't just another creature. It was a predator, as dangerous as any they had faced across the stars. Emperor Calyx himself convened an emergency council meeting. His sharp, piercing eyes scanned the room as his advisors debated what to do next. "We cannot let this stand," one of his generals growled. "To have our finest hunters bested by a primitive world's mythological beast? It is a disgrace." Disgrace or not, we have to be smart about this, another general interjected. This creature may not have the technology we do, but it outmaneuvered and overwhelmed our forces. Sending more hunters might result in more losses. Are you suggesting we fear it? The first general sneered. Calyx raised his hand to silence them. This is not about fear. This is about understanding what we are truly dealing with. The hunt was supposed to be a test of Earth's creatures, but now it has turned into something more. If we underestimate this planet again, it could cost us more than just our pride. The Emperor stood and walked to the center of the room. He activated a holographic display showing the data collected from the hunt, the werewolf's speed, strength, and uncanny intelligence. We may be the greatest hunters in the galaxy, but this creature has shown us that we still have much to learn. We will study it, prepare, and when we return, it will be with the full force of the Ratharian Empire. The council murmured in agreement, but beneath their words lingered a sense of unease. They had never encountered a creature like this before, and they knew that when they returned to Earth, it wouldn't be a simple hunt. It would be a battle for dominance between two apex predators, one born of a galaxy-spanning empire and the other forged in the wild, untamed heart of Earth. The wolf awaits. In the heart of the Carpathian wilderness, the werewolf stood at the edge of the forest, staring up at the stars. Though it could not comprehend the vastness of the universe beyond its world, it knew instinctively that the threat was far from over. The invaders had left, but they would return. It bared its teeth, a low growl rumbling in its chest. It had faced humans and beasts, survived centuries of isolation, and now, it had faced creatures from beyond the stars. But in the werewolf's mind, the territory it protected had never been in question. And when they returned, the hunt would begin anew, but this time, the wolf would be waiting. It had won this battle, but war was coming.